I just feel like I should be out delivering some packages or something. It's got the color for it. We've got the space in this vehicle. I just feel like that's what I really should be doing. It feels like my lifelong goal is to be able to do that, is to handle packages expertly and to make sure that your package is in good hands. For years now, I wanted to do more commercial vehicles here on TestDrive. In fact, the one vehicle I had on my list when we were doing videos with Performance Mercedes-Benz back in Niagara was to do the Mercedes Sprinter, but I haven't had a chance to do any real commercial stuff until today. Our spotlight is on this 2020 Ford Transit Connect Wagon. This is a 6-passenger minivan, essentially, based on the Ford Transit Connect long wheelbase version of their panel van. Now, this might not be the van for everybody, and I think that this really has more commercial applications than consumer ones. But I'm going to go over everything you need to know if you are in the market for the 2020 Transit Connect and want to know everything there is to know about it and to see if it's winter certified here in Quebec. So why would you buy this? I've made the mistake before when talking about vans to generalize the type of people who are going to be buying them. But I'm pretty confident in saying that most people, not everybody, but most people will be buying this specific setup for commercial application, because this starts at $32,055. It's not cheap, but it's also not overly expensive. We, though, have the titanium, and that starts at $39,025 Canadian. There are a number of options on here. We have $4,069 worth of options, including $425 for the trailer tow package, $260 for the electric windshield defroster, $350 for the remote engine starter, $500 for front parking sensors. Rear parking sensors come on this titanium trim. $1,750 for the panoramic Vista roof on top, and then finally $784 for active cruise control. So it's well equipped for about $43,000 and change, but you don't get a ton with it. This comes with a 2-liter GDI inline 4 engine, no turbo. It's 162 horsepower, 144 pound-feet of torque, front wheel drive only, and it comes with Ford's 8-speed automatic transmission. But as the Transit Connect, this is meant to be a smaller city vehicle to get things done. This, configured as a passenger vehicle, has 6 seats, 2 in the center and 2 in the back, plus the 2 that you'd normally have in the front. You can configure it slightly differently. There's a bench seat in the middle if you wanted to go that route, but this one's configured as the 6-passenger, and it's about as fully loaded as it comes. We have HID headlights and LED fog lights, and then essentially the rest of the tech that you get with this, you have rain sensing wipers, a backup camera with those rear sensors, Ford Co-Pilot 360 Assist, which adds blind spot monitoring, lane departure warning, and as I mentioned, we have the active cruise control option on this. Regular cruise control would come with it. A couple other features that come with this titanium: dual zone automatic climate control up front with another zone in the back. It's a manual control. You have 16-inch premium aluminum rims, leather seats, a 6.5-inch Sync 3 system with navigation, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and Sirius XM, remote entry with push to start, and power folding automatic mirrors. So it's well equipped, as I mentioned. $43,000 does feel a little pricey. The engine could be a little underpowered, especially if you're loading this up with 6 people. Now, we are going to jump inside. I am going to talk about how the center row seats work, so we're going to talk about that. And we're going to go over everything else you need to know if you're in the market for the $43,000 Ford Transit Connect Titanium Wagon. So yes, as I mentioned outside, we're driving the 6-passenger wagon Ford Transit Connect. An interesting little fact: when any of these are imported into North America from Spain, where they're built, they all come exactly like this, with windows and passenger seats. It's Ford's way of getting around the import tax on these commercial vehicles since they're not built in the US. So essentially these come configured exactly the way you see it here, and then another company will take off the glass doors and put panels on there and remove all the seats, and then actually ship all that stuff back to Spain to be used on another vehicle just for removal a couple weeks later once it arrives here in North America. And that's to circumvent the tax laws. in the US, but we've got one of those few, and about 15% of the Ford Transit Connects actually stay as passenger vans. And like I said, it's a more commercial application than any other minivan on the market, just because it kind of feels commercial, especially when you're sitting on the inside. Look at this headroom. I mean, it goes forever. You can also configure it, as I said, without the pano roof. You can have a little bit more storage in there, but if you're using this because you're a business, you're a wine tour company, you're a valet service, an Uber, whatever it may be, this could be a great option for you. If you're buying it for personal use, that's fine too. I'm not saying that it can only be used for commercial purposes, but that's kind of the angle that this goes with. Now you'll see some B-roll of me sitting in the various seating positions here. Overall, the space is pretty good. It's the headroom that's the best, and the rear seats, the third row, can be slid forward or back, which is really good. So if you need a little bit more storage and the passengers back there don't take up a ton of space, then you can slide them forward a little bit. But if you need more legroom in the back, you just push those seats back a little bit and you've got more room. And you can fold the seats flat. We've got them as it is right now. The rear seats are flat. It takes about a minute per seat, so it's not too difficult. All the instructions are there, so there's versatility when it comes to this. Maybe not as much as something like the Grand Caravan or the Chrysler Pacifica that have the stow and go. They go into the floorboards. This is a little different, but it still works. And again, you can use it for whatever you want it to. But it is interesting to be able to try this one out in the snow. Most of what you see now is plowed, thankfully, but I've been driving it around most of the day in this kind of condition, roads unplowed, and it works. I lose some traction coming off the line. You could put it into manual mode and put the gear into second, take off the line from there, but for the most part, it does work. The grip is good going around the corners. It's just a little bit of traction loss at the start, and it's a small engine, right? It's not big. There's not a ton of weight in the front, and that's why this is so big on the inside here, because the engine's essentially right in front of me here. The hood is pretty small by comparison, so the engine's closer to where I am, and it's not very big to begin with. Now, the only thing I do find is the HVAC system here. I have it at 21, and even on auto mode, it still is running pretty hard, considering this car was in our heated garage before filming this. So it is just running a little harder than I would want it to, and especially since we want to be able to hear my voice on the video, I've had to put it into a lower setting. But let's see here. We did this last week with the BMW X6 M50i. We'll see what the sort of ambient noise level is when doing 50 kilometers an hour based on my Apple Watch. This is around 61. It's pretty much staying right on there. So not too bad. It's not bad on the highways either. You know, it's a commercial vehicle, right? I know I keep saying that, but you're not expecting world-class sound insulation with a car like this. It gets the job done, though. You want something that's versatile. You want the space, especially the headroom, little storage cubbies here. This is a great option. So by North American standards, it's not a very big engine. 2 liters ain't big at all, especially without a turbo. And obviously we see that in very small segment vehicles, but as a vehicle like this, as a 6-passenger, you do want a little bit more power. I mean, if I give it some gas, yeah, it picks up. On my own, with my wife, with my kid, no problem. But I can kind of see maybe if you do have 6 passengers in here with some luggage, maybe it's going to start to bog down a little bit. And fuel economy also hasn't been fantastic. We'll talk about that when we wrap up, but we do have our 100 kilometer test loop numbers, and considering this is a front wheel drive only vehicle, I mean, they are high for what we would normally expect. But then again, this is a pretty different vehicle, so we don't have a lot of other vehicles to compare it to when it comes to those fuel economy tests. There you go. I don't know if you got that much on the video there, but we took that turn. Quite a bit of snow here on this road. Did no problem whatsoever. We are now on pretty much full snow road, which I usually don't like to have to drive on, but here we are. And it's working pretty well for a little front wheel drive. I mean, the vehicle's not a little, but the engine is. The wheelbase ain't bad, but tires were small. Everything's small car about it. I mean, it really does feel like I'm driving a Ford Focus, just I'm way bigger. It feels like I'm actually in a clown car because everything else is proportionately big. I mean, not the steering wheel and dashboard, but the windshield and the windows, they're all huge. The doors are big. The headroom is tall in this. So it just feels like everything else is so much bigger, and I'm normal size, and I just happen to be sitting in it, and you can fit 300 clowns in here. Fuel economy for the 2020 Ford Transit Connect Titanium wasn't anything to get excited about. We did 9.6 liters per 100 kilometers, or 24.5 US miles per gallon during our 100 kilometer test loop, and 10.7 liters per 100 kilometers, or 22 mpg during our week. The Transit Connect is a unique vehicle in the Canadian marketplace. The most comparable alternative would be Ram's ProMaster City, another chicken tax import going through the same passenger van conversion if you're looking for a work vehicle. Unlike the Ford though, the Ram only comes with 2 rows of seating for a maximum of 5 passengers. You could also look at the Mercedes-Benz Metris, but that passenger van starts at 46,000 Canadian and another 10k in options to get similar kit to this Ford. Now, you either want a vehicle like this or you don't. It drives like a car with a low step in to get in and out of, along with a nice high roof for passengers or cargo. The engine worked for my needs, but is low in power compared to the Ram and the Mercedes. Like typical commercial vehicles, there's no low washer fluid warning, and the reservoir is pretty small. Overall, the 2024 Transit Connect offers a professional-looking vehicle that has plenty of configurations to suit your needs. It's a tad pricey compared to a traditional minivan, but makes up for it with interior space that you can't find anywhere else. The Transit Connect enthusiasts out there love these vehicles, and that's a subgenre of car culture I never thought I'd discover.